news show here on twitch.tv/ohmTown. I am Mayor Watt. That is my site. That is ohmTown. That is where all kinds of news is aggregated. Yeah. All the time. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, non-stop. Go, go, go. Hundreds of articles a day, aggregated into 6 categories: create, news, education, entertainment, social, and technology. I focus my particular soapboxing on 3 main things: business, technology, and society. That's my area of specialty, my area of some might say subject matter expertise. And I do this daily news show. But within these 6 categories are 50 channels, and I actually intend to bring all of these to Twitch, but it really depends on engagement, if people come out. But I know that I need to expand longer time frames here on Twitch, and restreaming over to YouTube. So I am considering that as well. As for the amount of time I spend on Twitch, it's tough being mayor, and I've got multiple meetings today. Just after my stream here, I have to run off, and I've got a meeting. I got a meeting all the way until tonight. So yeah, it's tough being mayor. Not complaining, just busy. But I would love to spend more time here on Twitch, particularly interacting here in chat. And I would dig it if somebody wanted to come on to the stream as a citizen of ohmTown, and I'll put you right up there and we can talk. Let me know. Come over to Twitch, twitch.tv/ohmTown. Although ohmTown is everywhere, you can pretty much just do a search and you'll find ohmTown. Okay, well, anyway, let's get into today's news. I have a new source of information, and in the process of getting everything working, I don't have a link to the source. So I do have the link to, or at the source, but I don't have a link to the source. It'll get resolved. Well, it's already been resolved, but for this particular moment, I missed my window. So I'll have both in the show notes, and you can go to either one. ohmTown itself has a comment section, but there isn't that much commenting going on. You know, I've got, for a new site that isn't advertising, I've got quite a few people that are visiting the site and navigating through it, but they're not commenting, which is fine. It's part of the whole, even on Twitch and other places, there are people that refer to themselves as lurkers. I'm a lurker on most Twitch channels, Twitch streams, and that's fine. But I really encourage you to come over to Twitch and talk in real time with me, because that's just what I dig. So, okay. Anyway, the first news article is over in the Daily News Show, which is what this is. And boom, there's the link to ohmTown, but I'm going to take us straight over to this, which is a new website that I've added called Futurity. And I'd call myself somewhat of a futurist, somewhat of a progressive, in the sense that I think that we should be utilizing future-looking technologies, and not necessarily ones that are purely profit-driven, but things that benefit society, even if there is a cost to that benefit, where it's a net negative. In this particular case, this article is about plastic-eating enzymes that could gobble up tons and tons of waste. Now, the article was posted by Nat Levy, and I'm not even sure. Wow, I need to look up that name, Nat Levy. But I don't know if that says UT Austin. But at any rate, so I've seen things like this before. Yeah, it is University of Texas at Austin. Okay. So I've seen these leaps in research before. I always kind of make the science fiction leap over to, well, this is how you end up with a bug that goes out and just basically decimates everything plastic. But it says here, this discovery could help solve one of the world's most pressing environmental problems: what to do with the billions of tons of plastic waste piling up in landfills and polluting our natural lands and water. I think it would be amazing if we could actually do this. The enzyme was able to complete a circular process of breaking down the plastic into smaller parts, depolymerization, and then chemically putting it back together, repolymerization. In some cases, the plastics could be fully broken down to monomers as little as 24 hours. Pretty nice. Now, what happens with this enzyme if it gets out of control? Put it somewhere it's not supposed to be, and you might have a problem. It really depends on its longevity. Biological solutions take much less energy. Research on enzymes for plastic recycling has advanced during the past 15 years. However, until now, no one had been able to figure out how to make enzymes that could operate efficiently at low temperatures to make them both portable and affordable at large industrial scale. Almost had that whole thing said. Fast PETAs can perform the process at less than 50 degrees, 122 degrees Fahrenheit, or 50 degrees Celsius. Cool. I think anything that allows us to break it down. So it says here, ExxonMobil's Research and Engineering Division, as part of an ongoing research agreement with UT Austin, funded the work. Yeah, that's awesome. Now lower your gas prices so that during a pandemic, your margins aren't so great. Never mind. That's crazy talk, I know. Let's continue on. The next article is over in the continuity report. Because of the source, not because of the topic, because this particular topic is a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to induct Dolly Parton, Eminem, Duran Duran, Pat Benatar, Lionel Richie, and more. Who the others are, I don't know, but if you follow the source, which is what we will do right now, twink. Eurythmics, Carly Simon, Judas Priest, Jamie Iovine, Sylvia Robinson, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis, and Harry Belafonte are also set to join the hall in a ceremony that'll take place in Los Angeles in November. Well, that's a while out. Jimmy Iovine. Why do I not know that name? Maybe it's in my head, but it's fallen out somewhere. I'll figure it out. Anyway, if you want to go and check it out, go over to Variety.com. The author of the article is Chris Willman. And I always find this kind of stuff interesting. But you have to go back. Duran Duran is pretty old school. Pat Benatar is. Eminem. Old is subjective, so I wouldn't really say Eminem is. Lionel Richie, it's pretty old school. Eurythmics, pretty old school. Carly Simon, old school. But pretty cool. Dolly Parton rose again because she was found out to have invested in the vaccine. And now, I mean, she's kind of like one of internet's favorites because of that. It's pretty cool. So who didn't make it? Among the 17 nominees, with 7 getting in via the vote versus just 6 that were elected last year, and Judas Priest coming in the side door. The 9 who will have to wait till next year for another shot are Beck, Devo. Devo is almost fanatical people behind them. I mean, people love Devo. I dig Devo. Dionne Warwick, A Tribe Called Quest, the MC5, Kate Bush. That's really old school. Rage Against the Machine. I don't know how they're not in there already. And the New York Dolls and Fela Kuti or Cuddy. I don't know that name either. Well, at any rate, I'm a big fan of music. I think that music should be able to be taken by others and tweaked, and as long as it is not identical to the work that was created, you should be able to use it, even in mixes and remixes and whatnot. But for whatever reason, little micro snippets of any song get your stream tagged and your VODs taken down and DMCA'd, and monetization gets pulled away even if it is a unique thing, and you have to fight for every little scrap. But I see times a changing, so we'll see what happens. Pardon me. The next article is over in The Word in Tech, and it's an exclusive over at The Verge. Sonos's next soundbar will be called the Sonos Ray. I don't know how exclusive this kind of stuff is, because somebody can come on board and discover it at any time. So this article is over at The Verge, and it's written by Chris Welch, and it says, first Beam, then Arc, now Ray. The upcoming budget soundbar from Sonos will be marketed as the Sonos Ray, according to internal documents and people familiar with the company's plans. Expected to cost around $249 and go on sale in a matter of weeks, the Ray will be the cheapest soundbar from Sonos yet and serve as an entry-level option beneath the pricier Beam and flagship Arc. So The Verge has additional information and a bunch of pictures, so I encourage you to go over and update it. It says the article was updated. Did I say updated? If you want to stay updated, go over to The Verge and you can find out more. But the article has an update in it that says that it's been updated to include new images accidentally published by retailer K-Tronics, with further confirmation of the Sonos Ray branding. That's funny. Pardon me. Anyway, there's always more information over at The Verge, so go and check it out. The next article is in the Smack Talk channel, and its title is a foldable iPhone isn't the future, but a folding iPad or MacBook might be. I'm not so sure. I don't see the iPad or the MacBook folding in the sense that it is a full screen that is being folded. I mean, the MacBook is it's a laptop that folds anyways, but a folding screen, I think, is significantly, a true folding screen is further out than I see as an acceptable model for what it is. A screen that just folds and its hinge is as big as my hand is just, it's too unwieldy and too bulky, too blocky, and not inside the Apple ecosystem, I don't think. But it says here, a folding iPhone might be a cool in concept, but the form factor is not likely to be the future of Apple's flagship product. Instead, Apple could be using folding display technology to make a more useful device. Folding iPhone just isn't there, I don't think. So let's click the link, take us over to Apple Insider, and they're showing what might be a folding device. I don't know if they're trying to hint that it's an iPhone. But Mike Peterson is the author of this article over at Apple Insider. And I just don't see it. I think that Apple would be more inclined to build something that where the screen can actually roll inside it, and so it's more like a thick Apple Pencil, and you can grab a piece of it and slide it out, and it will unfurl, dunk, and lock into place. But I just don't see something actually clicking in half. Um, I don't even think that they like the idea of it with their laptops, let alone taking something that already exists as a slate and cutting it in half and creating that complexity. I see more of a touchable rolling display that kind of rolls up on itself inside a cylinder, and then you can put that cylinder in your pocket or on a table or whatever, either open or rolled up. But we will see. Again, this is always an ongoing concern. We just watch it and see what happens. I'm not too into the rumors scene. I keep my eye on it, but it doesn't build hype to me because you just don't know what it is, what will come out, what will shake out of whatever endeavor is underway. Folding screens are going to continue to have their problems because it really is it's a fixed thing, and every time you fold it, it introduces flaws. It messes up the physics of that screen. And if the arc is too small, then you get a permanent disruption in that curve. And if it's too big, then you're talking about something that is just too thick, too unwieldy to even work with. But in the same article, they talk about AR and VR. Speaking of the future, the article says, think about the timeline of a folding device. Current rumors say that Apple could debut one by 2025. I don't think so. That's the same rumored timeline for Apple Glass. But Apple Glass won't do. It doesn't have anything to do with foldable displays. I do hope that Apple Glass is something that I can put on glasses and not be glasses themselves, because that would send the price through the roof for anything that is prescription. So like these glasses, I have prescription sunglasses, for instance, and they're outrageously priced. And there's zero competition in the sector. I mean, there's one company that owns everything that has to do with actual glass manufacturing, the lenses manufacturing. There's only one company that has anything to do with it. Well, at any rate, they continue to say the first iterations of Apple's head-worn wearables are likely to rely on the iPhone for computing power. I agree. They really do enjoy, Apple really does enjoy having that interconnectedness in a form of what old school used to be referred to as a personal area network. So for instance, I just put my watch on, and my watch is connected to my phone is connected to my iPad and my phone and my watch are all connected to my MacBook Pro. So I can unlock it and I can interact with it from any of the devices. And then even there, as I approach other devices in my home and my office, I can turn on my Apple TV. I can turn on my HomePods. It basically is a seamless system. So keeping things vertical between Apple Glass when it shows up and the iPhone just seems like a reasonable expectation. But let's continue on. Got a whole lot more. So my next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel. Elon Musk's SpaceX rocket site expansion coincides with decline in bird numbers in the local area, investigators say. So I'm just going to click the link so that we can stick to a timeline. But here, this is Kate Duffy writing for Business Insider. And, I'm just not surprised by this kind of stuff. And I'm not quite sure, really. So I have some familiarity with issues like this where the ecosystem is being perceived as being harmed or damaged in some way. Because in California, there's quite a bit of it. So if you want to pour a foundation for something, you have to do a study to make sure that you're not impacting something. The same applies to commercial anything. You can have a driveway and want to redo the driveway, and it takes an environmental impact study to make sure that you're not harming anything. And there's some notorious ones that are going on around like Camp Pendleton in California. So Southern California, San Diego. And so you can have some tiny little flora or fauna that exists, and your entire enterprise can be shuttered because you can't build where you were expecting to build, and you invested money and time and committed, and then suddenly you're told, no, you can't do that. Well, there is always endangered or environmental impacts when you are doing some rather tremendous things, because there's either going to be a not in my backyard kind of situation where everything was fine for those that were incumbent, but the moment that you start to disrupt, suddenly there's moral outrage. But in this particular case, there appears to be negative impact on endangered shorebird species. But unless somebody is dumping chemicals, I have a hard time with this kind of thing, because animals will relocate, for lack of better nuance here, and trying to find something that is a better suited situation for whatever the enterprise is can be a really tough call, unfortunately. But fortunately, there are people that are looking out for this kind of stuff, because you don't want to lose species. You don't want to negatively impact the environment. Unfortunately, there are efforts like SpaceX that will undoubtedly cause harm because they are technology, and they're well outside the natural order of things in something like an isle. You're basically on a peninsula and you're launching rockets into space. There's going to be some ecological harm done. So hopefully there is something that can be done, a happy medium. But this business and this is fundamental science that's taking place along with the corporate interests. I'm more interested in the academic aspects of this. This is fundamental research that's going to translate into a more positive future, hopefully. And that really does, to me, take precedent. And so, I, again, like other articles that I've already talked about, we'll have to monitor what's going on. But it says here, it is not clear what happened to the quote-unquote missing plovers, but if SpaceX activities have resulted in the loss of over half the Boca Chica population, then the entire critical habitat is being impacted. Yeah. And that's the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that's making that statement. And like other things, that statement can lead to shutting down enterprise. I have seen it, and it definitely will impact SpaceX's bottom line. If this actually puts a pause on growth, and it can't be solved in some way, and in an overt way, their stock will take a hit. So hopefully they find a solution to this and can keep going. So let me keep going. The next article is over on the Hatch Ideas channel, and it's Morgan Stanley downgrades Carvana, cuts price targets by 70% as car seller faces serious challenges. And it says the company accelerated growth at precisely the wrong time, said analysts. Let's click the link takes us over to CNBC, and Sarah Min is the author. Carvana kept kind of popping up in places. I thought it was interesting. They have an interesting way of weird. They have an interesting way of, I guess, storing their cars, and they're an internet company, really. And you buy the car via the internet. You end up going to the place to pick up your car, and naturally you can go there and look and all of that kind of stuff. But they've been kind of taking a beating and growing at the same time when there's a pandemic, when there is inflation, when car prices are shooting through the roof, and you're saying that you're the bargain. It's rough. And so until something happens that makes it car prices reasonable, I think that they're going to be challenged. But on the other side of this is we're opening it up now again. Hopefully supply chains start kicking in favorably, and prices decline, and people aren't so negatively impacted by inflation. That said, I don't think it's this year. I don't think that it's until late next year, 2023 or early 2024, before we see a change in direction. But again, there are people out there. I am not deep into global finance. It's what I went to school for, but while I completed my program, I didn't like what was going on with high finance, and I had challenges in terms of my particular compass. So I focus on strategic management of entrepreneurs and solo practitioners, not big business. It's just not there for me. I don't like the messaging from it. So hopefully Carvana can recover from this. But if you're an investor and you buy on the dip, I think Carvana can recover from this if their runway allows them to land so far, on their feet. I was gonna say land on their wheels, but I don't know. At any rate, let's continue on to the next article. The next article is in the Hatch Ideas channel, and it's Moderna blows out first quarter earnings expectations, triples COVID vaccine sales. Moderna's first quarter vaccine sales were more than tripled over the same period last year when it reported $1.7 billion in sales. Now, that's not profits. A lot of people just kind of scream, hey, sales, look at that, 1.7 billion in sales. Well, it's expensive and there's a lot of losses. So this article is over in CNBC, written by Spencer Kimball, and has a picture of the Moderna vaccine vial. Moderna sold $5.9 billion of its COVID vaccine in dollars. Of its COVID vaccine in the first quarter, blowing out revenue and profit expectations. The company's shares the biotech company's shares soared more than 7% in pre-market trading on Wednesday before falling. Its shares were trading down by more than 1% shortly after the market opened. And so early adopters, early investors got in and out of it fast. And I can almost count on that being primarily institutional investors. Moderna maintained its full year guidance of $21 billion in COVID vaccine sales. Wow. Billion. Okay. First quarter, billion. But like many things, if you are planning on doing something great using the profits from the pandemic, you better sock away a whole lot of money, because it will come crashing down at some point. That said, the long tail of this is that Moderna, if their vaccine shows that it has legs, the profitability of this for every single vaccine that's associated with this virus, the coronavirus, and its many iterations, it's going to be able to be leveraged to market the fact that it's successful. And you can get a booster and then another booster and then another booster every 6 months or so. It really depends on what the science bears out. So we will, again, see what happens. This isn't a static situation. This is only talking about the current quarter, or I should say last quarter. It's what I call current. And the quarter we're in right now, the immediate one, is probably going to show more sales because the vaccine is wearing off. From if you had the first dose and then the second dose, then you're good. If you got the booster, if you got the first and the second one, but not the booster, then you need the booster. And if you've got the booster in 6 months, you might need another one. It really depends on your age and what the science shows as being needed. So tripling the vaccine sales is no surprise to me, because that third shot was new. I don't think everybody really expected it, but they saw a decline in the efficacy of the vaccine. So they said, hey, go get a booster. Okay, so the next article is in The Word in Tech, and it's about artificial intelligence and a problem that might be with it in association with art. This is Techscape. This cutting-edge AI creates art on demand. Why is it so contentious? AI progress comes in fits and starts. You hear nothing for months, and then suddenly the limits of what seems possible are burst asunder. So let's click this link. It takes us over to The Guardian, an article written by Alex Hearn. And in this week's newsletter, Doll E2 can conjure vivid pictures of dogs in berets to astronauts playing basketball. It also represents every major ethical concern there is about AI. And this is something that I talk to with people on the regular. And that is that our ability as human beings to build machines that take away the need for human beings is almost pathological. I mean, we always find a way to make ourselves enable our laziness. So while we are able to work very hard, we find ways to shorten our need to work hard. We even have a phrase, work smart, not hard, work smarter, not harder. And artificial intelligence certainly is that, because it can find the most expeditious way to get from A to Z, whatever it might be, from driving a car to building machinery itself that would build something bigger, to mathematics, to cybersecurity, to building systems for automation itself, expert systems in legal processes, in business processes. We have the ability to design systems that are built specifically to go beyond what we can do. Artificial intelligence does this in a level that is beyond anything that humans can do on the regular. We're just more creative. Well, not necessarily, because you can code creativity within a certain scope. Obviously, we can't create something that is consciously creative. It is coded to be creative. And so you end up with stuff like this, right? What looks like a panda scientist, or a dog in a beret, or a galactic traveler that happens to be a dolphin or porpoise, and a spaceman playing basketball. Talk about moonshot. Yeah. Anyway, they're not all gems. I just tell them. At any rate, So this article over at The Guardian by Alex Hearn talks about what this problem could be. It says, the first was Google PALM, a new language model, the same basic type of AI as the famous GPT series, that shows a pretty stunning ability to comprehend and parse complex statements and explain what it's doing in the process. So some AI deployments have actually created, they're on two different systems, but they've created middleware where they can talk to each other faster than the two independent programs just talking to each other. They actually created their own intermediate language, which was something that wasn't expected. But because of evolutionary leaps, I'd say revolutionary leaps, that only AI can do, you end up with this, right? So the problem here is that this creativity can take away the need for the human component, as long as whoever it is that is talking about this artwork can either wavy hand away the artificially intelligent component of it, or they can lay claim to, this doesn't have any additional, maybe if I just click on it, yeah, it won't even let me look at other pictures. At any rate, the idea of this is that you don't need the human. And so what is the point? Well, there's some copyright issues, apparently. I know through conversation and reading and watching other people talk about this, that automated processes can't be copyrighted. If it isn't a human, there is no assignment of a copyright. If it isn't a sentient human, only a human can have copyright. And so programs cannot claim a copyright. So all of this artwork that is generated by a computer, it has no human component to it, to its creation, and therefore, theoretically, because it hasn't been challenged in court yet, these cannot be copyrighted. Hate to break it to you. Now, am I saying that you can take these pictures and go run willy-nilly with them? Nope. In their current state, their embodiment, I would not be willing to challenge copyright, because it is something that would have to be argued in court at this point. Maybe at some later date, when somebody actually wants to take it on, it'll be argued in court. But right now, I would take it at face value that these have a copyright by somebody. But the theoretical argument is that you can't have a copyright because it's automatically generated. Same thing goes with NFTs that are mass produced. But nobody's challenged it yet. So I'd say good luck if you're going to do it. Bring a big bankroll, because IP litigation is not cheap. So at any rate, that is my bigger issue here, is that two things. One, it has the ability to take jobs away. Mainly somebody, it creates a job in a different way, but it can take jobs away because the art is in the eye of the beholder. And so this stuff wouldn't have been created if not for somebody programming it into an artificial intelligence. So, and I have no problem with artificial intelligence. The cat is out of the bag. We might as well exploit it. The problem is that there isn't a replacement really for the jobs that artificial intelligence will take. And everybody likes to say, oh, well, you'll just get a job somewhere else. It's not like that. But that's another argument, and we can continue on at a later date. It will keep popping up again and again. Automation and its impact on society. It will keep on showing up in ohmTown. The next article is in Hatch Ideas channel. Hyundai has turned its Korea-only minivan into a tiny home on wheels with pop-up roof. see what it's like inside. And so the Korean arm of Hyundai has turned to Staria minivan into a camper van starting at around $40,000. I think that's, to me, I don't know. This is relatively cheap for what you're probably getting, but $40,000 for a vehicle just seems a lot nowadays. Even though, like, you can look at a truck like a Ford F-150, and some of them are just outrageously priced, particularly nowadays. Well, anyway, I'm going to click the link. It'll take us over to Business Insider, and they'll be talking about their little minivan from Hyundai. Brittany Chang is the author of the article, and I don't know who is taking the pictures, but they always have pretty neat pictures. I don't know if they are taking them or if it's provided by Hyundai, although the captions always say Hyundai. The Staria Lounge camper will be available in 2 layouts, one with 11 seats and the other one with 4, obviously depending on what you need, both with coveted electric pop-top roof. I want the pizza that's in the corner. Oh, it's a lot bulkier than I thought. When I was looking at that picture, the roof wasn't as chunky. But this picture down here, this isn't the Korean automaker's first foray into tiny home on wheels market. The company also has the clunkier, I don't know about clunkier, I'd say chunkier, Hyundai Porest motorhome. I don't like that name, Porest motorhome, which is a chunkier version of the Staria Lounge. But unlike the Porest, the new Staria Lounge looks less like an RV and more like a minivan base. Yep. And it looks like a standard minivan, except that it has LED lights. It looks like sliding door, a pop-up roof, awning that can be deployed. Pretty neat. At around 6.9 feet tall, the van has a lower profile than most RVs, making it a bit more discreet. Yep. Looks like a shuttle from Star Trek. Interesting. So lots of features in this car, and at $40,000, maybe it's justified $40,000. Not bad. Okay, so let's go check out the next article over in Hatch Ideas. Politico told its employees to watch out for strangers trying to enter their office after it published the leaked SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, draft report about the I'll just call it a change in policy regarding abortion. Politico published a leaked SCOTUS draft that suggests the Supreme Court is set to overturn Roe v. Wade, and that's the Supreme Court case that ruled that women could get an abortion. Legally, it's a quirky finding, but this will get dropped back down to the states, and somebody will have to litigate to reinforce the previous finding and give it more solid ground. With the makeup of this Supreme Court, it might not ever be heard until somebody else joins the Supreme Court, or our government codifies that in law, and it becomes de facto everything. You cannot repeal it, but we'll see. Again, we say that a lot here in ohmTown. We shall see, because a loud few, vocal few, are going to fight to make it stay overturned, and others will fight to keep it in place. And the way that I see things is, while we are fighting for scraps that are thrown off the table, the people at the table are making themselves rich and powerful, all while we're fighting for basic rights. Let's click this link. It'll take us over to Business Insider. And Sophia Ankel is the author of this. And in the dead of night, barriers were put up in front of the Supreme Court. And there are protests right now outside the Supreme Court and in various other government where there are government facilities, buildings, there are protests. LA, for instance, has a large number of people that are protesting, and so Department of Homeland Security is involved, LAPD is involved. I've watched some videos, and it's all because for the last 40 plus years, Roe v. Wade and Casey have been the lay of the land, and now with a forced rejiggering, by the way, because it was hypocritical for the GOP to throw in and literally forced in Supreme Court justices after saying that other presidents could not, during their waning hours of their administration, they weren't allowed to. And so really it's this embodiment of left versus right instead of us all being part of the spectrum. There are people that are gaslighting the other people, and it kind of feels to me like I'm being punched in the face, and the person punching me is saying, "Why are you punching me?" And I'm just, my head just can't wrap around this, because I don't think like that. I mean, it's so backward thinking that I'm being gaslit. So, the abuser is abusing me and saying that I'm the abuser, even though I'm the victim. So it's quite fascinating. And again, this is one of these things that's an ongoing thing, and we will end up watching it here at ohmTown. So the next article is in the continuity report. Elon Musk invited to discuss Twitter buyout with UK Parliamentary Committee. I find this one really fascinating because it has UK impact, but it's wholly United States. I mean, this is a company that's founded in the United States, has a presence in the UK, but there's nothing really to discuss. And the UK can set policy and procedure all it wants. The EU can set policy and procedure all it wants. But the business can still exist in the United States and the internet. The worst that can happen is somebody try and block Twitter. I just don't see that happening in any way, shape, or form. I mean, there are so many ways around an internet blockade that it's almost laughable. But so it says here, the UK's Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee has invited Elon Musk to discuss the proposed purchase of Twitter. MP Julian Knight, who chairs the cross-party parliamentary committee, has written to Musk to extend the invitation. My committee has noted your proposed acquisition of Twitter, and we are interested in the developments you propose. That's kind of a soft-handed way of saying what's going on. This article is over at Variety, and it's written by KJ Yossman. And yeah, there's absolutely no, other than Musk being amicable, well, I'm bored, I don't have anything else going on, I'll go talk to this committee. But there's no impetus for him to go and talk. You can notify everybody by simply doing, not having a discussion, but it's politically expedient to make friends and not just ghost people in government administrations. So the next article, I'm going to keep rolling so that I get all of the articles in by noon. This is in the Mobile Channel. Shanghai woman lived in a phone booth for a month during COVID lockdown as the Shanghai government ordered the bulk of the city's 26 million residents to stay home early last month to contain a COVID-19 outbreak. One woman and her dog settled into a red telephone booth. There's video of the people being bolted into their house, basically, with iron fencing and wire wrapped around the door handle and screwed into the wall so that people can't get in or out. You can get in by removing it and handing them supplies, but it's not going to be. Sorry about that. As mayor, I get pulled away, and that's what happened. Sorry for the downtime. So the woman, reportedly a migrant worker in her 50s, lived in the tiny space for the next month, occasionally taking her dog out for a stroll and airing her blanket in the sun. Her living conditions came to light only when the resident in a high-rise apartment across the street documented her existence and eventual eviction in a series of photos on Chinese social media, where they were generating an outpouring of anger. I'm surprised that they survived long enough to actually, not the person, but the pictures on Chinese social media, that they existed long enough to actually be able to draw attention. But it's an ongoing thing in China, rolling lockdowns really as outbreaks appear. This article is over at vice.com, and it's written by Rachel Cheng. Cheung is the author, Rachel Chung. I believe that's how it's pronounced. So Rachel, if you want to correct me, let me know. But yeah, there you go. I mean, people are practically forced to live in a phone booth. So let's continue on. The next article is a Citizen Sleeper review. It's in the Word in Tech channel, an evocative cyberpunk survival simulation for PC, Mac, Xbox, and so on. If your brain were copied and placed in a robot body, would you have human rights? That's the thorny issue at the heart of Citizen Sleeper, a game set on a rundown space station called Erlin's Eye in the far-flung future. Let's click this link and take us over to The Guardian. And this article is written by Lewis Packwood. And the caption here is a decaying cyborg with a human mind struggles to survive aboard a space station in a superbly written, if not exactly original, slice of scuzzy sci-fi. Interesting. I'll have to take a look at this. So it's called Citizen Sleeper. I don't know. It doesn't say here if it's on Steam. And like I say with other things, I don't read this beforehand. But go and check it out. You might dig it. Citizen Sleeper. It's out on May 5th, so tomorrow. And it looks like it's going to be $20. You can easily reach one of the game's multiple endings within a day or two, although you may want to dive back in for a second playthrough to see how different choices would have affected your journey. So it looks like it has some replayability to get some other different ending. It's kind of like the Stanley Parable that people are playing right now. If you've never heard of that, you can play it. It's fun. It's fun to watch. I didn't play it. It's not my style of game. But this actually sounds pretty cool. It might be like Disco Elysium as well. So go check it out. The next article, and again, it'll be in the show notes. So there you go. The next article is in the Hedge Ideas channel. Risky fourth straight rate hike expected from Bank of England as inflation soars. The Bank of England is expected to opt for a fourth consecutive interest rate hike on Thursday, but economists fear it is entering increasingly choppy waters. So the only way really to stem the bleed of inflation is to increase interest rates. When there's so much money out there, you ultimately have to roll through from inflation to stagflation to recession to stop this kind of irrational increase. And I think that it's pure profit taking. But me doing some number jumbling, the New York Stock Exchange is somewhere around $53 trillion in market capitalization, yet there's only $25 trillion worth of GDP in the United States, and the money supply is less than that. And this just screams that there is what amounts to too much money in the system because it was used to mitigate the real world collapse of overly ambitious risk taking. And while none of this has helped the middle class maintain its integrity as the middle class, it has over and above, beyond any constraint, made the upper class richer. So this article is over at CNBC and it's written by Elliott Smith. But what I'm talking about is my own opinion. I'm not talking about the article just yet. The fact is that the rich got richer and the middle class collapsed. Salaries didn't increase with cost of living. Now inflation is outstripping even that. There is marginal increases in the middle class in terms of wages even now. Maybe 1.5% cost of living increases, maybe 3% cost of living increases, but the real world is at 8.5, 9, 10. It's trending towards 11 or 12. I'm expecting it by September to be somewhere around that point, if not closer to 13. And it really depends on a more aggressive policy by the Federal Reserve systems. So this here, it says annual UK inflation, and this is about the UK, not the United States. Annual UK inflation hit a 30-year high of 7% in March as food and energy prices continued to soar. When I peeled back the layers, I've spoken to various people in various levels, all the way back to gasoline. And gasoline is the foundation of all of this inflation. And I've said it in previous episodes, you can't have increased costs and pass that over to the consumer and still have record profits. Because what that amounts to is you are throwing on multitudes of profiteering based on these mythological supply chain issues. There are others that are going to produce the oil. If the gas companies say, hey, we can't buy the oil because it's too high, they have to compete and lower the price, or they doom themselves to no sales. So the bargaining power is in the volume, the size of the country, and we're all being tested for the elasticity of demand. The basic business school economics, business processes concept, elasticity of demand. They're going to keep on raising the price until people start balking and find alternative sources. Well, those alternative sources are those eco-friendly ones, but those aren't defensible. So everybody still loves their gas and oil, and that's where we're at. They have record profits, yet they complain that there's increased costs, and they pass those costs on to the consumer. So that's fine, except that you're keeping the margins still irrationally high, and you're making a ton of money during a recession when there isn't supposed to be any people rolling around just driving for kicks, right? We were all in lockdown for 2 years. Now you're trying to make tons of money back. And now is just I think it's an immoral, unethical time to do it. But that's me. You don't have to be in my camp, but happy to hear your arguments counter. It's kind of an Elon Musk busy day. Elon Musk says businesses and governments may have to pay to use Twitter. This was something that I kind of anticipated. I anticipated this. Casual users will continue to be able to use the social media platform for free, the tech billionaire said. But he's going to have to get his money back. And to do that, he's going to trigger some tiered pricing. And depending on your volume of engagement and depending on if you're going to get ads or not, you're going to be paying. That was my expectation the moment I heard that he was actually going to take it over. And this is an article over at CNBC, and it's by Sam Shedd. And I'm pretty sure that this is kind of, you start paying, you get your check. and that little blue check mark. And it says the tech billionaire, who is also the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, added in a post late Tuesday that the platform will continue to be free for casual users, but a slight cost for businesses and government. I don't know how they're going to be able to charge government, but okay. Government, by its nature, is not supposed to be a profiteering enterprise. You might find that laughable in its statement, but that's its objective is not to make a profit. At any rate, so another Elon-related news element, the word in tech, Tesla Model S with motorized tilting screen spotted in the wild. I'm always interested in the evolutionary steps of technology. So this is letting passengers get a better view of in-car entertainment. It's because that center console is tilted towards the driver. This is an article over at The Verge and written by John Porter. It has a picture, but feel free to go over to The Verge and you can check out this Model S with a factory-equipped motorized swiveling center screen spotted by Twitter Lee in a video by Larry Lee at Tesla Frunk. So if you've never heard the term frunk, it's a front trunk. Frunk. Okay, anyway, 2 more articles. Let's continue on. Meet the 34-year-old who has sold more than 11,000 items on Etsy and makes nearly $3,500 a month in passive income. Jennifer Goncalves, or Goncalves, started selling printable wedding invitations on Etsy in 2019 and now makes nearly $3,500 a month in passive income on the site. Boink. Yeah, all you have to do is become a graphic artist first. So this article is over in acorns.com and it's written by Gilly Malinsky. And it says here, in 2018, Jennifer Goncalves, or Goncalves, was not sure what she wanted to do with her life. The Sacramento, California native had taken some college courses in psychology and tried to be a teacher's assistant, but nothing really stuck. I kind of just decided I don't want to work for anybody. I think I want to work for myself. Kudos to you. There you end up hanging your own shingle, and she ended up taking courses of various activities to find the right path. Pinterest virtual assistant course. Wow, that has to be brutal. I'm not a big fan of Pinterest anyway. But there was a Facebook ads course finally in the summer of 2019. She took Julie Berninger and Cody Berman's course on starting an Etsy shop selling printables or digital documents buyers download and print on their own. I was kind of in charge of creating flyers, marketing materials, catalogs, creative stuff for the training department at the Sacramento County. And I guess that's kind of what clicked for me. And now they do it. She does it on Etsy. Edenwood Papery. The summer selling wedding invitations, RSVPs, and similar items as bundles for $25 each. Wow, and makes $3,500 passive. And that's something that you should do if you are interested in starting your own business. Anything that is kind of static in nature, but is something that can be purchased again and again and again by a whole host of people that are interested in the matter. Like when you have to craft something, let's say a wooden box, then you have to spend copious amounts of time creating those products, or you pay somebody to make them and you either split the profits or give them a wholesale cost. But digital constructions, you do it once, you post it, and people can just purchase it. And that's exactly what is going on here. Because people will always be interested in it if it is of value, obviously. And this, and depending on what they look like, it's a piece of cake, So these days, Goncalves, sorry, I don't know why I keep reiterating it. Begins her creative process by searching for graphics like floral designs as well as unique fonts on Etsy and Creative Market. Once she finds a design and fonts she likes, she looks into its licensing to make sure that she can use it for print-on-demand products like hers. Fonts can and graphics can go for $20 to $25 each, but if she has to get permission to use them, these special licenses can hike the price up by hundreds of dollars. Yep. A lot of us who are interested in business, entrepreneurship, and creatives go through this process all the time. And licensing can be expensive. And unlike what you might think is with demand, the price would drop, but it doesn't. Even though the licensing is really cheap, right? Like for the person who's licensing a product out, let's say for a piece of artwork, if I want to license it, I could license it more and more when it's cheap. But when great demand comes for a product, sometimes you see people wanting to profiteer off of it. And so with great demand, they go, well, I'm going to start charging more, even though it's an infinite number of available licenses and infinitely assignable. Like I can just keep on selling these items. But if they sell too fast, right? Like if I sell 100 of them in a day for $25, I could sell fewer of them for more and make more money with this at a time. And so you just never know if you're pricing it right. But at any rate, I'll continue on. There's a lot here, and you could definitely spend hours talking about it, with each individual iteration of this concept. There's always some unique aspects to it. So licensing can go up when there's greater demand, even though there isn't additional work involved for the person who's doing the licensing. The licensor, I should say, the licensee is going to have to spend more and more money because the demand for it has gone up. And so the licensor is saying, hey, I want more money now. It's weird, but that's what happens. Even though, again, it's infinitely available. There's no additional work to sell more digital anything. Okay, and so the last one for today is in the Reality Hacker channel, and it's the prototype Meta headset includes custom silicon for photorealistic avatars on standalone. So long before the company changed its name, Meta had been working on its Codec Avatars project, which aims to make nearly photorealistic avatars in a VR reality. So, and that is my problem with the way that the metaverse is spinning up right now, is that it's extremely low resolution stuff that you would have seen 30, 40 years ago. It's still like that in these VR spaces, and it's all about compute resources. So let's click this link. I'm not a fan of Meta, but I encourage all of the evolution of that tech. So let's see here. This is an article over at Road to VR, which I encourage you to go and check out regularly. And this is an article by Ben Lang. And these are the photorealistic avatars. And I think, it's especially made, but really anytime you can have converged technologies in a smaller footprint, it becomes more efficient both in data processing and the electrical efficiency. So you can make something wireless because it doesn't take more power, it takes less because it's all constrained into a smaller package. I'm a big fan of micronization. Apple is doing a bang-up job of it, reducing the size of all of its devices again and again and again. This here, it says the test chip fabricated in 7 nanometer technology node features a neural network accelerator consisting of a 1024 multiply accumulate array, 2 megabytes on chip SRAM, and a 32-bit RISC-V CPU. So a bit of Micronization gives you a whole lot of power capability, and if it can punch up the level of graphic sophistication in the virtual environment, I'm all for it. But the headset's general purpose CPU, in this case Quest 2 Snapdragon XR2 chip, doesn't get to take the day off. While the custom chip handles part of the codec avatar's encoding process, the XR2 manages the decoding process and rendering the actual visuals of the avatar. So you end up basically with a specialized chipset performing certain functions, and then the general CPU taking over for display. Not bad, not bad. So all you competitors to Meta, get out there. Get on this. Make it wireless, compete, drive business to have to evolve to make it better for us consumers, and I'll be all the happier. Okay, and that's it for today. I'm right on about that 1 hour mark. Appreciate you stopping by here over on Twitch. Come again. Pick up the podcast, pick up the YouTube channel, go over to my Discord, go over to ohmTown.com. And again, the front page is right there. Just go over to ohmTown and it updates regularly. And thanks. I'm working on another home page that will automatically populate periodically. So you can just sit here and it will add more content. And we'll see what everybody thinks of it once it's released. That said, I'm done for the day. Thank you very much for coming. This has been the ohmTown Daily News Show. I'm Mayor Watt. I'm the mayor of ohmTown.com and ohmTown here on twitch.tv/ohmTown. Thanks again. Bye-bye.